Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I want to talk about a topic that I've kind of talked about before, but not really in this light, and that is going to be character bans. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, ban Steve, ban Kazuya, I don't know who else you'd ban. Ban Kirby, he's bad, no one uses him. But that's not what I mean. I want to talk about bans in a way that a lot of popular pro esport games do bans, like League of Legends, like Rainbow Six, just to name a couple, where they ban characters at the start of a match. And I want to talk about how that could be implemented in Smash. Because realistically, just off the gate, the answer is probably not, but I do think it could still be a really interesting, maybe for a side bracket. Maybe if things get out of hand with like Steve and people don't want to ban him, that could be a thing some tournaments run. I doubt it, but it's just an interesting topic. So there's a lot of ways to go about it because there's 80 characters in Smash. So how many characters should you be able to ban? And I think the most realistic one is just honestly one. Because let's say it's 5. Even though it's not a huge chunk of the cast, that means that you have to be super good on like 6 characters. Which is not realistic. You just can't, unless like even Leo doesn't have 6 characters at the top. He has what? He has Byleth, Joker, Corrin, Rob, that's 4. Insane that he has 4. But those are the only ones, really, right? Like, he could probably bring out his Greninja. His Greninja is really good. His Ike is still probably really good. But when the best player in the world, when you have to go into characters he's used, like, online and, like, years ago, that's like, okay, 5 that's too many. Even, I'd argue 3 is too many. Because when you get to 3 characters, it's like, okay, for Leo, he plays Rob. But it's like, that's like a rare exception. Even someone who co-mains like Proto Min Min Lucina, that doesn't really work. And then you have one more ban. So I feel like the way that bans would work if they were implemented is you would do the research on the player. Let's say I'm playing Light. I ban Fox automatically, of course I do. Let's say I have 2 more bans. Well, it's like I'll probably ban Wolf or Falco because he has one of those as secondary. I don't remember which one off the top of my head. Definitely not like an actual secondary though, just like he's also good at the character. And then do I ban someone else I think he's good at, or do I ban a character like Steve, like Kazuya, or Rob, because that adds another element, which I think we saw a lot with Leo yesterday at Double Down with Fundy's top tiers. So when you have a Fundy's Rob, or a Fundy's Steve, or a Fundy's Kazuya, even if they can't do the crazy combos, they don't really need to. If you can input Electric Wind Godfist and get just get A0 to death, like if you have that 1-0 to death, you don't even need the first tech on the platform, honestly, because Kazuya's broken. If you have a Fundy's Kazuya like T does, it's really strong. If you have a Fundy's Rob like Leo does, it's really strong. If you have a Fundy's Aegis, it's really strong. So that gets to the question of like, okay, do I ban top tiers or do I ban characters that I think people are going to be good at? And then it gets to things like, let's say if you have 1 ban, which I think the rest of the video will be mainly talking about 1 ban, because I think that makes sense. Let's say I go against a character specialist like Light. Does that mean Light just can't like specialize in Fox now? Does he have to pick up another character? In which case it's like, okay, is Light even a Fox player if his Fox is getting banned every single time? And I think that would honestly result to either people just like picking up Steve so that people ban their Steve, or people not being able to play their mains, which is like why I don't think it'll get implemented, but I still do want to talk about it. Because I think there's a lot of people that would excel in this format. Just to name a couple, I think Leo is still the best player in the world in this format. I think Spargo does very well. I think Zach Ray obviously does well. Proto does very well. Who else co-mains? Riziasu, just to name one, kind of a random one, but he would do like phenomenally. American players, DeBoz would do very well. Luis would probably do pretty well. But then it's like, okay, let's say I'm banning against Proto, just because I think he's the best example of a co-main right now. It's Min Min or Lucina. And I play, I don't know, I play like, let's say I play a character that's really bad against Lucina. I ban Lucina, right? But then he probably bans my character, so that gets to the meta of like, okay, maybe I should ban Min Min, because my secondary that he might not be, like he's probably not going to ban, is better against Min Min, or is better against Lucina. So that gets into that mind game, which I think could be really interesting. And I honestly think it'd be more interesting if, I don't want to say like a tournament ban was done, where it's like 5 characters are just banned throughout the tournament, because then it's essentially like, okay, Steve is banned every tournament, Kazuya is banned every tournament, Sonic is probably banned every tournament. I don't know who else, maybe Aegis. I feel like people hate that character. Olimar, I don't really know. It doesn't really matter. The semantics could be different everywhere. But there'd be some characters that are pretty much getting banned every time, which I also don't think is a good thing. So it comes to this ground where it's like, how do you balance banning a character in Smash? Because I think stage banning in Smash, I wish there was more counterpick stages. I know there's a lot of people that like talk about it and they're semi-serious and they meme. Like there's like a bunch of people that like genuinely want WarioWare because it's just a really strong counterpick. If you can kill off the side really fast, like obviously the matches are going to be faster. And while I do think that gameplay should be more on the character and the players than the stage, I do think the stage should have a factor because that's like a kind of a huge part. So I think that better counterpicks could really just benefit in general. Just kind of like an off topic, I guess. But I think there should be more stages in Smash to counterpick, but then also more bans. So maybe it's like, okay, you have 5 bans before a game starts, and there's like 10 legal stages, and like how many very characters. So you can ban a certain amount of characters and a certain amount of stages. That could be interesting, but then that could also be like, you know, we can get Meta Knight situations, or Brawl Meta Knight situations, where it's like, oh yeah, this character is just absolutely ridiculous on this stage, so you have to guarantee ban at least one of those things. Which isn't great, again. Because you want to avoid, when you're implementing a ban, it's like permanently banning a character. So maybe you ban a character... Oh, actually, how about this? I'm just coming up with a lot of these things. I think this could be good. You can only ban a character once a set. And then best of 5, you get to ban one character. So let's say, like, game 1, I'm playing against, I don't know, Yanni, for example. I ban his Steve for game 1. He bans, like, I don't know, my Snake. Then it's like, okay, we go Bowser, Luigi. But then game 2, I can't ban his Steve again. He can play Steve. That's fair game. So I ban, like, the Luigi. And then he can't ban my Snake. So then it's like, okay, game 1 is maybe secondary versus secondary. And whoever has the better secondary is going to get that edge. And then when it comes to the mains, then again... you have like a battle of like, hey, this is my best character, unless like maybe you don't ban my best character because your secondary is really good in the matchup. And I think honestly this is the format that I made up in my head that I like the most. Like you get to ban one character every single before the start of every match, but you can't ban the same character twice. So if I win game 1, I ban Steve game 1, I win, I lose game 2 to the Steve, I can ban Steve again in game 3. I think this forces people to co-main, which I really like the idea of co-maining. I know it's really hard for specialists to co-main, but then you can also just like be a really good specialist. Or maybe it's like, oh, how about this? I'm just coming up with ideas. You can't ban game 1. Well, because there's a couple ways. You can either ban game 1 and ban every game, or you can't ban game 1, or you can't ban game 1 and only the loser gets a ban. So let's say I lose game 1, I can ban the Steve. I'm just using Steve as an example because that's like the character that people will actually want to ban. So I ban Steve for game 2, and then I win game 2, then they can ban my main, so that makes game 1 kind of like super set deciding, so maybe I don't want to do it that way. But I still like the idea of not being able to ban game 1, because then it's like, okay, it's a battle of my mains, I can get back into the set with the secondary, maybe the secondary is feeling really good, and he doesn't ban it, he's going to ban, but I guess you couldn't ban the main round. Okay, so round 1, it's, let's say, my main versus their main. I don't know why I'm using me as an example, I guess it just makes sense. Me versus the other person, whoever wins, wins, and then we both get one ban. Whoever wins that wins. If the set's over, the set's over. And then game 3, we can't use the same ban, so we can go back to our mains. But like, let's say maybe it's like, oh, he banned my main, or he banned my, he banned my main, but I'm really confident in my secondary, so I don't ban his main. And then I somehow win game 2 with my secondary, and now the next game, my main can't be banned, and he has to use this, or they, sorry, have to use their secondary. That could also be really interesting. So I think relying a lot on your secondary could be important. And basically, the big point I'm trying to make is, I think that specialist people, while it's cool, I think it'd be really interesting to see, not just top players, but people in general, diversify the characters that they're playing. This is also just a personal thing. Like when I play games, I play every single character. Like there's no exception. In this game, I play every character. Overwatch, I played everyone. Valorant, I play everyone. It's like if there's a character to play, I'm just gonna play it because I have fun moving around. But it's like there's some people that it's like no, I'm gonna play 1,000 hours of Smash, and 950 of them are going to go into Dr. Mario, and like 30 of them are gonna go into my secondary Bowser Jr., and then 20s for the rest of the cast. And it's like that's absolutely fine. That's your way to play. But at a top level, I think being able to show that you can play not just your character, but you can also play a multitude of characters at a super top level. I think it'd be really interesting. And I also just think the mind games of how the bans would work. So again, the way I'm preface it, no bans game 1. Stages stay the same. I do still want more like kind of risky counter picks, something that like make a counter pick actually kind of matter. Because right now it's just like, do you have platforms that are annoying, or do you have platforms that kind of don't do much? And that's all it is. So more risky counter picks for stages. No ban game 1. Game 2 you get bans. Game 3 you get bans. Game 4, 5 it would be like that, but you can't ban the same character twice in a row. I didn't even think about best of 5. It gets way more interesting in best of 5 because then you have tertiary that could even come out. Still probably not. Co-mates would probably be encouraged, but I just think it would benefit co-mating, and I think that's just so cool. Like, can you imagine a set where, like, I think most of my favorite sets in Smash are when it's basically just this format, where it's like, I think a great one is Leo versus Void at main stage, the first one. It was like game 1, I think was like Joker Sheik, and then it was Joker Pichu game 2 and Void won, and then it was Joker Lucina game 3 and Leo won, and then it was Lucina Sheik game 4 because Void, and then Void won, and then last game was Joker Sheik and Void lost. So it's just kind of like it puts a lot of emphasis on game 1, but since the way it is now, it's like you can't pick a character. Like if you win the set or the last game, you have to pick your character first. So I think that like situations like that would be a lot more common, and I just think that's really cool. That just seems hype. But yeah, I think that's where I want to wrap it up. There's probably a lot of things that I didn't touch on rather, and if I wasn't super clear, then just like leave a comment asking. I will be able to clarify, because like, you know, the longer I think about a subject, like the more clear it gets as you see me like slowly through the progression of this video figuring out more and more what I like about this concept and how it could actually be used. But yeah, be sure to comment if you think anything. If I touched something that you agree on, let me know. Disagree, again, let me know. This probably won't happen, but I still think it's just a cool concept, even if it doesn't, just to like talk about, because that's just kind of what we do on this channel. We theorize. We're kind of like a game theory channel, if you want to put it that way. I don't know if anyone's ever used that. But yeah, be sure to sub, like, I think the bell's important. And thank you guys for the support, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.